Yo, we live, man.
Yo, we live. Welcome to University of Choice. Got a new series on the way, man, where we educate you intellectual properties. Basically, we're gonna educate you. We're gonna bring you up on game on a lot of different topics from sports to music to literature, anything possible. You know what I mean? I'm here with my co-host.
What's good? What's good, everybody? I think I honestly think they know us by now, but if they don't, I'm Steph. That's Tay. Hey, we just here, man. This is some. This is some. Now this is something really special. Uh, University of Choice, where there is no
Yeah.
tuition. What else? What else, Tay?
Man, yeah, the choice is yours at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna put the information out there for you, and it's like you can either take it or leave it.
Yeah,
But it's nothing to be, debating over or arguing over. It's just, man, if you take it, shit, it might work out in your favor. There's only one way to find out. You know what I
right.
mean? And one big thing I wanted to ask you, like, I wanted to kind of touch on the topic of music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as an artist for myself, I'm kind of patient on the way that I like put my music out there. So in a way, it's like I want to have my music on platforms, right? I use DistroKid, um, but how like the only thing that I'm seeing that's like I'm getting the streams, it's out there, but it's like I'm not collecting revenue though. I don't get the reason why I'm not collecting revenue. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
say you could get paid off the streams, so it's like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, uh, just a general answer before because I think we should talk about some things before we get to that point. But just a general answer to
yeah,
that question is that every platform has a different payout schedule and a different way in which they determine streams or plays. Um, Pretty much all of them, if you get two streams, they're not going to pay you for two streams. So a lot of that is outlined in a fine print, which I know most people don't read. A lot of people don't bother reading that. So I encourage you to always read. When it comes to like that, when it comes to your intellectual property, any type of thing that you're creating with your mind and you're licensing it or putting it on a platform, you have to read every single word of that. But every
listen,
platform has different payout schedule. Every platform has a different way in which they calculate it. You have to be aware. Is the platform that you're using, are they doing like an average scale? Is the platform are they using some type of like proprietary detection software to pick up on every single play? Um, it matters. A lot of different things matter. But before you even get there, you have to protect your intellectual property. It's important to protect it. Uh, yeah.
how would I go about that then?
Okay. So. Uh,
Like as far as protect, like what does that even mean?
okay. So most people, when we're talking about music and the word protection, most people think copyright. Um, but they think of it a certain way, which is the wrong way for most people. So copyright is something that this government and many other governments uh, have established by law to allow creators to protect their creations. So copyright literally means the right to make copies. That's literally what a copyright means. So,
Okay,
like, if you were to create a song and release it to the public, copies of that song cannot be made without the authorization of the copyright owner. Same thing with a book. A book can't exist and you just go make
mm-hmm.
copies of it and sell it in your store without getting the proper rights. Um, However, most people think that there is some thing you have to do in order to obtain a copyright. The truth is that law says that when something is created, the copyright is established, and to the copyright create I'm sorry, to the content owner, to that particular creation's owner. So what I mean by that is when you create a song or you write a song, it's copywritten right then. What most people confuse that fact with is registration, copyright registration. So what you can do
Right.
is take your copywritten work and register it with the United States Library of Congress. Now, that is added protection, right? That stuff comes into play when you are in court, or if you are signing a record deal, or if you are signing a publishing deal. These entities and companies want to make sure that what they're promoting and what they're pushing out is actually yours and protected. So they might ask for proof of copyright.
Damn. So there's definitely a difference between registration and copyrights,
Yeah, copyright is
and
natural.
that's probably the fine line where a lot of people.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. No, I hear you. It's just a little delay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you were saying that copyright is natural.
Yeah, copyright is natural. Zero money to obtain a copyright. It's just absolutely natural. As soon as you create
Right.
it, for example, one, two, three, dot, 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 dot. That's mine. I just created it. I just created it. If I took something on a sheet of paper, I just started scribbling. That's
Mm-hmm.
mine. I just created it. Registration is not natural, and it costs money, and you have to take steps to register it.
So, all right, if I want to make money off of my song, dot 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 snap dot dot dot, naturally that's copywritten. Now I have to register that song in order to get residuals.
No, no, you don't. You don't. Uh, Registration is important in the let's say this. Okay, it's very likely that if you were let's talk let's leave a record deal or a publishing deal out of it. Let's say you're just independent. No, it's not mandatory that you register your work, right? So let's give an example of when registration or something comes into play. Like somebody uses your creation. You want to go to court and say, hey, you can't just use what I created that, right? Now, so there's something called the poor man's version of copy. Whatever they created, say you created that what we just did, the snap snap dot 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 1 2, record it on something, put it in an envelope, seal the envelope, mail it to yourself. When it comes back, don't open it up. The idea behind that is
Mm.
that the post office puts a postmark stamp on it. The idea is that stands up in court, and you would be able to bring it in court and then open it because the courts would accept that postmark as a legal proof that on this day, this was whatever was in this envelope obviously had been created. Um, so so outside of that, when you go to court, you have to be able to prove that you created it. So if you have proof, maybe by video or somehow, that on this day you create, long as I can say what you're going to rule in favor of, registration alleviates the need for any of that. If you register it, then that right there is upstanding. You don't need nothing else. This is registered with the Library of Congress. Such and such is the copyright owner. That's it, right? So that's what that does. Um, it doesn't have anything to do with you receiving your money off of it, other than if there was a an additional copyright claim. So if we release that and we start selling it, and somebody um, on the other side of the country says, "Hey, that's my song," they reach out to the distributor and they say, "Hey, that's my song. Where are my royalties?" Then it becomes a copyright dispute, and then the two parties have to prove it. It's just better to err on the side of caution when you're releasing something to the public. You might as well register it. And there are different ways that you can register songs. There are different ways that you can kind of save money in registration, but that alone is not what determines whether or not you receive your royalties. It comes down to some other factors.
Oh, okay, okay. So I heard about it's these two man. You probably obviously I know you know. In order for your song to be I mean there's two places you could register, right? ASCAP and
B,
BMI.
BMI. So it's actually in the United States. It's actually three. You got BMI and CSAC.
Mm.
SCSAC, but they are kind of, let's just say, exclusive and invite kind of only, but they're all performance rights organizations. And once again, is it a requirement, right? Is it a requirement for you to register under these to get receive royalties or whatever? No. It depends on the type of royalties we're talking about now. So ASCAP and BMI, which is the most likely, which you know, to like artist or a songwriter would be registering with. And let me be clear that this is for songwriters, right? So you have to separate the songwriter from the artist when you're dealing with royalties, when you're dealing with creation. It comes down to
Okay.
who created. So a song is created before an artist performs it, right? A song exists by itself aside from the performance of an artist releasing it. Okay. So if I write a song and you're an artist, I am the copyright owner of the song. You are just simply the artist, right? There's different royalties
Oh.
associated with the writer and the artist. Let's say you wrote a song and you're also the artist. You happen to be both, but you still have to separate yourself type of royalties. You're going to get payments from totally different income streams. It's important to
Man,
understand.
so how do you even that's crazy. So how do I separate all right, so my artist name is Easy Style. Do I go by Easy Style as the songwriter and then my government name as the artist?
No, like the inverse. It's typically the inverse. Um, and the typically why it's the inverse is because you're dealing with you want your as a songwriter when you register with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, you're registering your name, your government name, right? Your social security number. You want things to get back to you, right? As an artist, this is simply uh, a likeness that has been created. But when you sign the contract, when an artist signs a contract with a record label, they're not signing as Easy Style. They're signing as a government. You can't sign the contract under an artist's name unless that artist's name is your real name or you have a DBA.
Okay.
You know, um, but yeah, most of the time the songwriter is would be the name. That's why if you ever look at credits, album credits, uh, you can kind of took a part in the writing. You know, um,
Mm,
it's
that's a good
yeah, yeah. So that's typically how you could figure that out.
word. Now I'm about to do my homework on a couple people. I want to know if they actually made this song or not.
Yeah.
Damn, that's deep. That's deep. So as an artist, let's say I'm coming into my first year, right? Um, let's say I got a popping song out and a label wants me. Now, I could be, like coming from poverty where I really do need the money, and the offer they're giving to me on the table is up there, 500,000, 100,000, whatever the case may be. Um, what do you think is like essential to know before I even make this choice? Just knowing that, I could be young, 19, 20, 21, got the most popular song out here. I really need the money, but it's just things that I should look out for.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing is that if a label's approaching you and speaking with you, you should definitely have representation. You should definitely get a manager, a seasoned manager in the music industry, as well as an attorney. Most, can't say most, but yeah, most. A good manager will probably be an attorney. A good manager will probably be an attorney because they'd be able to absolutely look
Mm.
at the legalese, the words, the verbiage that's being used, outlining what you actually what does the deal entail, right? So after you have to do your homework on that and find someone you can trust. Look, getting your mom or somebody that has not had any dealings with business or with the music industry, that can be dangerous. I seen it. I seen it. You know, uh, momagers. You know what I'm saying? There's like it seems as if it would be cool to have your mom or in the best someone in your best interest, but you're also trading a lack of knowledge. Um, and there's a lot of things that a good manager would know to look out for. So some of the things that I would suggest look out for is like, okay, well, obviously the advance is something that is needed or that's enticing rather, but what is it in exchange for, right? So in a record deal is the royalty rate that you'll be receiving, right? um the one of the main things is how many albums, for how long, what is the term, what is the duration on the deal, and what was called option periods. So you can sign a deal, let's just say 2 album record deal. Or if a label really believes in you, they'll probably give you a three. The first deal will probably be three albums with an option or 2 options. So that means that the label can decide to pick up at the end of this deal, this term, pick it up for another year or another two,
Mm.
um, which gives them leverage. So what happens if you sell a certain number of units? Does your royalty rate go up? That's something to pay attention to. That's called escalations. So like if you sell X number, does your royalty rate jump up? If you go here, if you go platinum, if you go gold. And another important thing is like if you are a writer as well, in the contract, it's gonna outline how you as an artist who also is a writer will get paid for the songs that you wrote. So what labels do, this is trickery that they do in these deals. This is trickery. This is legitimate trickery, bro. This is what some people be talking about. Labels already pay the artist pennies, right? But how are they allowed to pay the artist pennies? One method is what's called controlled composition clause. And I'll try not to get too technical with it, but it's called a controlled composition clause. And that means that if you, Easy Style, the artist, if you wrote a song, we're not going to pay you 100% of the royalty that the law says. We're going to pay you, you're agreeing to pay us 75% of it, right? So you've already locked in. You're only getting paid 3/4 of the royalty rate. Not only that, we're going to put a cap on it to, let's say, 10 songs. So if you got 15 songs on your album that you wrote, you only going to get paid for 10 of it. What also is in these contracts is it'll tie in the producer. The producer becomes subject to what you signed up for in your artist agreement. And the producer has its own agreement, but it's tied to your agreement. It's deep, man. It's deep. These are the little things, though. You see how it gets complicated? A regular person, when I was in the industry
Yeah.
working, it was hard to even understand it from the beginning. It was like, wait, it took me years to really get a grasp. Like, oh, wow, that's how that works. How does work? So imagine coming in. It's no way you're gonna know, no way you're gonna grasp. You need somebody that understands what's going on.
Damn. Yeah. Just by like hearing that, it's like so legal representation. Definitely need a manager.
Yeah.
Definitely need to look out for what's being said. Like read that fine print. What's being said. What's in agreement.
Yep.
Damn. So there's a couple things to look out for. So um, typically now, right? How long was you in the industry for?
I was at Sony for 7 years. Yeah, 7 years, not including the internship.
Okay.
So about 8 years
So
total. Yeah.
all right. So now, obviously, well, what was the date period from that you spent
Uh,
at Sony, like year to year?
2004 to 2012.
Okay. So would you say that the industry is different, for better, for worse, or how do you feel? Do you feel like artists could? Do you think I could manage like? Do you think me going independent would be a better route now with all the systems that we have now
All right. So,
versus let's say jumping on one of these labels?
right. Well, I'm gonna tell you a misconception that a lot of people have. A lot of people, the term we gotta come to understanding what is independent mean. Because a lot of times the word independent is thrown out. For example, Sony had a distribution channel that serviced independent labels. So technically, these labels really weren't independent because they had distribution deals with the major distributor. Um, but they like to say independent because of various things. We weren't technically a label that was under. Today, would it be a difference? Uh, well, there are benefits to having a machine behind you, right? To having a machine behind you. Like still to this day, if I took an artist uh, who had no assistance from one of the majors, no assistance from one of the majors, and I had an artist who had assistance from the majors, the one that has the help from the major is going to have a better chance and an easier route and a more doors that would have the key to more doors. Doesn't mean that this artist is going to do better because most artists that major labels sign to deals, you never even hear about, right? You never even hear about. So
Yeah.
it's proof that it just, even at a major level, most do not make it, you know? Uh, it's tough. It's a tough question. I it's tough. You can definitely do it. It's a lot easier. The playing field gives more opportunity for truly independent artists. Through social media, through but that's with anything to me. That's with actors. That's with uh, any content creators, not just music, not just So I don't think it's just exclusively to music, but I still think when you put head to head, guarantee you, most of the music that you hear today, that if you were to present me with some music that's hot right now, your favorite artist, I could probably tie them back to a major label.
So it's crazy because what I see now is there's Young and May. I think A Boogie was independent for a while. I don't know if he ended up being on a label or not. G Herbo, um, there's just a couple of them that are like, maybe. So I mean, maybe they do have something.
Do you think G Herbo is independent? That's my question. Do you think Young and May is independent?
Well,
So like No Limit. You
I
think No
mean,
Limit is
I
independent?
mean, no, definitely not. But there was a time period that he was independent though. I mean, I don't know, like you said, I'm on the outside looking in, right?
Hmm.
I'm on the outside looking in, and from what I hear is like, he's eating off his money, like he's eating off his songs. I mean, he's eating off his music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's what's the difference between label, distribution company, like you know what I mean? Like, what is the
Yeah. Yeah. So
label being on a label, being under a label? Like,
yeah. Yeah. I get you. So the term uh independent, I noticed the trend when I was in it. I noticed the trend, period. Independent became popular. That term became popular. That labels even kind of realized that if we allow this artist to appear independent, the support might be greater for them than if we immediately
that's
associate them.
crazy.
Okay. So what happens is, okay, we'll just distribute them. Like the key was always look at back when CDs were out. Okay, if you go on iTunes, if you listen to iTunes or on Spotify or any streaming, there's always at the bottom or on the CD on the back, it's always copyright information. That is always the key. That's gonna tell you, even if I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know. Like if I go right now on iTunes and I just start looking up certain things, I can tell you, oh no, that's definitely not independent. Oh, this is major. This is because established artists are more likely to eat more or own. Independent means that the label, for the most part, does not own the masters. Who owns the masters? When you go in the studio and you record and you finish the album, who owns that album now? Is it the label or is it not the label? Right? Because sometimes it'll be the management, sometimes it'll be the production company, the produce, all these other things. Who owns it? That's really what comes down to it. So being signed to a label means that a label has signed you as an artist. You exclusively record for them, meaning you can't record for nobody else, right? In exchange for money. So they gave you a advance for however many albums. A distribution deal means that you are not signed to the company, to the record label as an artist. It's just that the masters that are created, right? And whoever owns them, it could be another company, it could be, say you're truly independent and you just have a distribution deal. That means that whatever entity is that owns has a deal with the record company. Like a record company is always major record company means that it has a distribution arm and typically a publishing arm. But to have a distribution deal, that means that you have a deal with the major to get your music out to the public, to get it in the stores, to put it on the streaming, to put it, they're putting money behind distributing your project. It was a little different when CDs were still in play. When CDs were in play, it made
Mm.
more sense to understand. It was easy to understand. Now you're dealing with digital distribution. So it's just kind of, it just seems easy. It seems easy to just distribute it all over to all providers, right? You can go on DistroKid or any of these distribute. distribution services to get it distributed. But that's just that, right? A distributing deal or a distribution deal comes with more than simply getting it up there, right? For example, if you have a distribution deal through a major label, that might include you have better chance on getting on certain playlists. You have a better chance of uh, getting on physical uh, outlets. Uh, Vinyl's coming back. You have the opportunity when it allows for a distribution company or a label if they need to press up some vinyl, if they need to press up some CDs, any format, you're in their own. Most importantly, international distribution. So typically when you do these US, it's just the US. But when you get with a major, they have their company is based all over the world. They handle the licensing, they handle all of this stuff for all over the world. So that's the major difference. Um, it's a lot in the back end that separates a major from an independent, right? Which is why it's push and pull. If you have the team and you can truly go independent, you can make a lot more money than if you're signed to a major. But a major has all of these things already built in that can set you up for success much earlier,
Right.
much easier.
So what's some advice that that you can share with us right now? Um I'm an upcoming artist. What are things that I should like really pay attention to that could help me in the long run?
What's some things that you should pay attention to? You said, can you say that
Yeah.
again? What are some things that I think you should pay attention to? Um, Number
Yeah,
one,
like what are things that will play in my favor?
if you're a writer, make sure that your ownership. It's all about ownership. You see it a lot with artists when they get in certain situations with the label when they're unhappy. Uh, let's say they can't go somewhere, or they can't record, they can't, or their music isn't being released. First of all, when you sign a deal, you're not in control of when a project is released. You're not in control if it's released or not. Say you went in the studio and you recorded the hottest song that you ever thought. If the label does not think that that song should be on the album, it ain't gonna be on the album, right? Especially you as a new artist. You gotta have
Wait. So you telling me that I do not have say so on when I want to drop my own song?
no, no. You don't determine the schedule of when you drop a
Damn.
song. You don't have to say so of when you what single. Do you have a part of it? Listen, man, it's case by case. A artist, let's take the biggest artist that there is, right? They probably have absolute control. Not absolute. The label's still in absolute, but they play a big role. Now, I'm talking about the biggest artists that you could think of. They actually have say so, right? Because the label act, they probably uh, are a big part of the label's yearly revenue. So of course they're gonna listen to what the artist wants. Let's go to the other end. Absolutely not. You don't determine anything as a new artist. If you ain't sold no records for the label, nah. It's gonna be a team of executives that first of all, you're gonna go in the studio. This is if you don't have a record already done. You're gonna when you got signed. You're gonna go in the studio. You're gonna number one. It's not guaranteed that you're gonna record songs that you wrote, right? It may be a few songwriters that the label has or the A&R has, uh, songs that they think are promising. Now you're gonna record these songs. Hey Tay, we need you to, or not Tay, but Easy Style. We need you to record a song with such and such from South Jersey. You like, nah, I don't want to. Well, we just signed this artist. We think it'd be a perfect pairing. We signed him a year ago. He's doing well. We think it'd be perfect. Both of y'all from Jersey. I don't even know this guy. What are you talking about? Let's just give it a try. So we already scheduled the studio session. It'll be great. So we had such and such write the song. It's gonna be great. And you like, listen, man, you don't have any control. Any is not the right word, the accurate word. It also depends on who your manager is. If you got a powerful manager and the manager manages, let's say, another artist that it's a big time artist, now you're in a different situation. So that's an example of who you pick as your manager and representation can play a role for you because they can use as leverage. Oh, you want Yo Gotti to give you an album this year, even though he not even in recording mode right now. You need an album for this year from Yo Gotti. Okay, well, I need you to do this for Easy Style. Like that's where it matters. You know, they play a big role. It's like a lawyer when you're going in the courtroom.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know,
yeah, definitely. Damn. So ownership is definitely key. Ownership is
ownership.
definitely key.
Ownership is
So
key.
what would you say? Yeah, ownership is definitely key. Definitely key. So what would you say based off your experience, right? Being in the industry, what do you think do you think the pros outweigh the con, or is it kind of sort of like it really depends on the artist, or does it depend on the production, or does it depend on the label? Like, are all labels the same? Do they all run off the same manuscript, or are these is this Sony better than Def Jam is under Sony, or
Nah,
Universal and Sony is
yeah, right. They're on the same level.
yeah.
Universal, right, right.
Okay, so all right, yeah. Will it be different at Sony? Are they running it a different way? Are they giving it more leniency to the artist, or is Universal? Or how does that like really work? Like how like should I look out for what's better? You know what I mean?
So let me say it like this. When I was there, Sony had a CEO, Universal had a CEO. They basically did a swap of CEOs. Okay, so that might tell you, okay, so if the leadership here became the leadership here, and the leadership that was here, and he went over here. Uh,
Yeah,
okay, and then if you go through history, a lot of labels, a lot of movements of labels. Oh, this label merged with this label, and then they separated later, and this label ended up become called this label. Motown became a part of this. Columbia and Epic became a part of this. Jive, oh, they were no more. J Records became this. Atlantic Records over here. All pretty much, it's all the same players. It's all the same players built on the same concept. Different labels do have different reputations, though, for different styles, different legacies, different different things. Like if you're a rapper, right? The executives that work these labels are more familiar with this certain type of content. So it's just like anything else. It's just like, okay, you have a foreign car. Are you gonna say are you gonna take it to a dealership? Or are you gonna take it to a chain that fixes cars, or a place that specializes in foreign cars? Like you have different options, just like everything else. Um, I, it's I feel it's a game. I feel that it is a tip. It's an industry that you have those that are in power, and it's funny because it's been structured. It was structured a certain way. The industry did change, like when people stopped kind of buying music, like when people started sharing music on the internet, they tried to catch it almost too late. You know, right? They didn't embrace the MP3. They didn't embrace digital media. Well, the CD technically is a digital format, but it's still a physical format. Like you had to physically take the CD and put it in the player. They wanted to hold on that because of profits, right? But Napster and people online sharing said no. So then they came up with these whole concepts of 360 deals, and that was like, okay, well, look,
Yeah.
we're gonna restructure this deal so we can also get paid off of your shows, also get paid off of your merch, also get paid off of your advertising, because they were losing money on the actual sales of the music. And labels felt like, well,
Wait,
you
wait, 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 wait. So yeah, break it down to me real quick. That's what I really wanted to know. What consists in a 360 deal? Why is it got this stigma where it's like, yo, don't sign that shit? Like, and it
yeah.
seems like rappers keep signing them.
Well, if you a new artist, you that is the deal today. That is the deal today. Like that's the type of deal that exists. The only people that aren't in 360 deals in general. Like I'm not saying every single deal. And if you have a great lawyer and you somehow got them to draft a deal for you that did not include uh, you know certain uh, alternative revenue streams, kudos. But today, that's just the nature. That's the standard. Um, so typically, a traditional record deal was for music sales, the sales that you made off of your the label will sign you. You go in the studio, you make a recording for the label because the label owns it, and they sell it, and then you get paid royalties off of it. Now, at the same time, you can go on tour. You can make your money on tour. You can sell T-shirts. You can get an advertisement from Pepsi, Coke. Nobody was really mad about anything because the labels were making, let's say, just say 70% or 80% off of the sales. So it didn't matter. Once the CDs phased out and MP3s and nobody was buying music no more, the labels started seeing a loss in their music sales, their revenue rather. But artists are still touring. Artists are still getting endorsement deals because companies realize the power and the influence that an artist can have. They said, whoa, 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 whoa. We need a cut off of that because without us investing in you in the beginning, you wouldn't even be able to go get these deals. You wouldn't be able to go get in these movies. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason because we put you out as an artist. So in the beginning, it was hard because you had artists that were already signed into traditional deals. When it became time for them to do another deal, it was now a 360 deal. So some artists like, nah, we're not signing that. And then, so in the beginning, it was a rough area. But then you got the artists who were just up and comers. It's like, nah, this is the only type of deal we have now. We're gonna put in money, but the twist is they also say, okay, we're gonna put up money for your uh, touring. We're gonna help with touring, tour support. We're gonna help XYZ. We're gonna help all these things, right? But we're going to get a cut off of that. We're going to get a cut off of it now. So some 360 deals include the label helping in these other areas. Some include the artist actually putting up their portion. It's a few different ways, but the the general consensus of the deal is they're getting a chunk now off of touring. They're getting a chunk off your endorsements. They're getting a chunk off of your movie. Any is what the 360 deal. 360, all encompassing. It just includes everything that has to deal with Easy Style. We getting paid off of it too.
Damn. Right. All right. So before we end, right, I want to ask this question for typically for myself. And what do you think? Like, let's say I get into the industry my first year. Where do you think, if you could answer this, where do you think most of my revenue will come from?
Your first year. All right. So you sign. Are you signing a deal, or is this like you just kind of on your own? You put music out on your own area.
All right. Well, let me ask you this first. If I sign a deal, I only could do anything that consists in that deal.
Uh, right. If you sign a deal, the deal's going to outline what you could do. Like you can't just go and record an album and release it. If you under contract.
Yeah, that's damn. So they kind of own the rights of just you. Period.
Yeah, your likeness. They do. That's the whole. That's the whole thing.
Damn. All right. Well, let's say yeah. Fuck it. Let's just say
That you
sign
sign
one of
a
these
deal.
deals. Yeah. Let's say I sign one of these deals.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's give them both scenarios. Sign one of these deals. Where would I most likely be seeing the money at? And if I didn't sign a deal and I'm just working off of YouTube, social media, doing shows, like where would I most likely see my money at?
Okay, so uh, the truth is, if you're doing shows, you're gonna probably see the most money at shows, both ways. Uh, if you
Okay.
sign the deal, depending upon, excuse me, how big your deal is. I don't know how big your deal is, meaning how big of an advance are you getting? Uh, if you're getting, if you're even getting a sizable deal, that means that you're not getting a deal today from a major label unless you have numbers to support it. A label not sign, it's very unlikely that a label is signing you in today's climate and you don't have a social media presence, that you not putting up numbers, that you ain't sold records already, that you don't got streams. Like you just getting signed off of your talent today it's just so rare. You 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 got a label gonna see you getting streams, seeing you compete with their current roster. Because if you're not competing with my current roster, or you don't have any streams, you don't have any followers, you don't have a presence, it's tough for me to sign you. I'm gonna sign somebody who's already there. And I'm gonna say, hey, you're already at this level. I can help push you there. Um, so that's just the reality of if you're even in a position to sign a deal these days, you're already seeing some type of income off your music and stuff. There are instances though where there is a talent, a freak, like there's a talent. A late executive sees an artist got ridiculous talent. For some reason, they ain't jumped online. They ain't jumped on YouTube. They haven't put any projects out. Hmm. Chances are a label's gonna sign you and then develop you. It's gonna take a little time, right? Your project not gonna immediately come out unless you already have a project, and then it's say you have a single out and you also had a project out. That's so many factors. The most money you're gonna see, I still want to say though, is off of shows that you're doing. Shows that you're doing. But if you're not doing shows, or you're not on any bills, meaning like with other artists where even enough revenue to count it, it'll be probably what you have going on social media. If you sign a deal, your advance probably gonna be the biggest amount of money that you've seen in a while. That you've seen. That would be your incentive to sign a deal. You know, $200,000. Damn, 200,000. You're not gonna sign something that isn't impactful. Like I already make this. So your biggest amount will probably be from your year one. Will probably be from your your advance.
So,
If you're doing it on your own, it's probably your shows. It's probably your shows. Any event you're doing, and what you're getting paid off of that. Because if you're selling enough records or getting enough streams, you got to be smart physically. You know, if enough people are interested into you to where you're making money, getting streams, and people downloading the album, then there's a market for you to do shows. To book,
mm,
they would really your shows. That's where you're making the money, man. Your performances, man. As an artist.
oh man, I appreciate you, man. There's definitely a lot of things that I did not know before this. A lot of things that I definitely got to do my research on. There's definitely a lot of jewels that you dropped in here, man. That a lot of places on YouTube that I didn't even know about. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the closest thing that like a lot of people that's in my age bracket, it's just like they just looking to get a deal, the
yeah,
best deal that's on the plate. They're not really like deep diving into the things that you're saying, like as in register your songs or
yep,
like not even noticing that being a songwriter and being an artist is separate. Like reading a fine print from down to having a lawyer, from down to just paying attention to what's in your contracts. Like there's so many things that you laid down for us. Um, which we greatly appreciate it. But is there any other way that we could like get more information from you? Is this the only time we seeing you, or like what's the deal with this?
Ah man, nah man, you are you already know. We know the platform. We know what it is. We know how to reach out, man. We know how to go on the website, prisonish.com, the YouTube channel. You can contact us that way. Uh, and we here, you know, we on the ground. We all the outlets. Just go to the website and all the information is there, man. And it's not the last one. You know, it's not the last one. We're just gonna keep bringing it, man. It's the university now, man. The university of choice.
University of choice, man. Intellectual properties, man, coming at you.
Yep, yep, yep.
Choice is yours. You
Yeah,
were.
yeah. Choice is yours. Appreciate it, man.